Welcome back. Welcome back to Living in Mexico. I'm Ana Maria Salazar. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us once again. Our Twitter account is at Mexico Daily, a useful Twitter account to follow, especially if you need to know what's going on in English and in Spanish. And also, I have my personal Twitter account where I mainly tweet in Spanish. As you know, I have a couple of TV shows in Spanish on security and international relations, and that's where I broadcast most of my information. My Twitter account, my personal Twitter account is at AM Salazar. As you know, I throughout the years since we started this show, I truly enjoy having guests, especially lawyers, where we can talk about legal issues. I know most of you don't know this. It's not a secret, but most of you may not know. I am a lawyer. I'm a U.S. trained lawyer, and I just always want to have the opportunity to have colleagues on the show. I make sure to find some time to talk about some of the big issues that are affecting the legal profession in general. But today we're going to talk about the legal issues that are being confronted by corporate lawyers who represent companies or who are of counsel. And I appreciate Elena Robles joining us today. She is a corporate lawyer. She is a lawyer who represents Estafeta. She's the legal advisor for Estafeta, but she's also the vice president of ANADE, which is the Mexican Association of Corporate Lawyers. It's like a bar association. And I found out that you all, Elena, are going to be celebrating your annual reunion, your annual conference, where the focus of the reunion, my understanding, Elena, is to talk about these issues, the big issues that affect corporations in Mexico, legal issues. Welcome to the show, Elena, and let's start with some of the issues that you all have identified. I mean, what are you facing on a daily basis as a corporate lawyer? Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ana Maria, for having this interview. I think that as a corporate lawyer, internal corporate lawyer, I think that one of the main important challenges that we are facing on a day-to-day basis is that there has been several and critical amendments to law that substantially affects our operations. And this law or these amendments, specifically, I am referring, for example, to labor laws regarding outsourcing, or recently there have been certain new obligations regarding transportation, affects all the operations of the companies. And this is something new, not only for corporate lawyers, but it's something new for the authorities. They are also new in understanding the law, in interpreting the law, and trying to apply the law. So this is a very important challenge because we need all of us, internal lawyers, external lawyers, and authorities, to have or to share the same view of how to apply the law. And this substantially affects the decision-making inside the companies, because the decision-making is not associated with legal matters, but is associated with operations, with commercial decisions, with strategic decisions. So this is one of the most important challenges we are facing as corporate lawyers.
I mean, why don't you give us some examples, Elena, of some of the recent reforms and how there are problems in interpretation of by the authorities and by the corporate lawyers? I mean, what? Just give us some examples so our audience can understand what you're talking about.
Yes, for example, let me refer to the outsourcing amendments that were approved last year. I think that there are certain positive aspects in such reform, because there were many companies that were operating under besides the law without complying with labor obligations. However, there was not a certainty on certain, let me say, regimes that where these amendments need to apply, and let me make this more clear. For example, in a logistics company as Estafeta or other many logistics companies, we need to use other services for other transportation companies because we are not able to reach all the country by ourselves. It's not possible because it's something that from an operational standpoint is not easy to get there. So we use other companies along the country in order to get there. So in some cases, it is not clear if we can do this or not. We are sure that according to law, we can do this, but in some interpretations in specific places, this is something that is not considered available to us. So
well,
we need to
I mean,
discuss. We need to
I mean,
discuss with authorities, and we need to let them know how it works, how a company works.
But I mean, I guess part of the problem with the frustration is that I think there was very good intentions with some of these reforms, but at the end of the day, it creates even more, I'm not going to use the word responsibility, but it does create bigger burdens for a company to be able to fulfill to be able to respond to these reforms. I mean, have you found that the authorities have been patient or understand what's been the impact this can have on a company and its ability to even hire people?
Yes, I think that yes, they have been very open to listen to the companies, and I am sure that we need to do a collaborative work with authorities in order to explain the scope of operations, to explain how we make decisions inside a company, and to explain the implications that probably from the side of the authority they cannot see. So they are open to discuss. I'm going to put another example. We have been discussing the new Carta Porte obligation, which is something that will be in full place. It's already in place, but will be in full place from January to 2023, because it substantially changes how the assets and the merchandise can be transported in Mexico. And it gives many obligations, not only to transportations company, obviously, but to the companies that sell that product. So they have been very open to discuss this with us and to understand, but it needs a lot of time to implement this inside the companies. So this is something that we need always be negotiated. We have seen an authority that is open to discuss and is open to listen. And this is something that we appreciate.
Let me ask you one more question, and I really appreciate you joining us here this morning, and I appreciate all the people who are listening to us and watching us via live stream and YouTube. Let's talk about how COVID-19 has affected the companies, the functioning of companies, and the legal profession. I mean, I imagine it must be kind of a nightmare for you, for those who are of counsel and corporate lawyers, because the courts were closed down. I mean, it was completely closed down. I mean, it was very difficult to get anything done. Can you tell us, are the courts back open? Are you back in business? Are the courts back in business?
Yeah, we are back in business. Actually, the transportation and logistics was categorized as an essential activity. So we were never closed because we need to be there. But I think that specifically the culture of the companies has changed a lot. We need to learn to make decisions in a different way. We need to learn to work in a hybrid mode. And we need to learn to transmit to all, specifically from legal matters. It has been an important challenge to keep communicated with all the areas in order to give them like all the information regarding security purposes, compliance, how to comply. It has not been easy to give that information if it's not face-to-face. So we need to design another learning tools for all the team.
What about security? What about security in general and how it's affected companies around the country, beyond the transportation companies, which we know it has had enormous impact?
Yes, no, I think that we have, I always think that people that is making illicit activities will always be very creative. So we need as companies need to always be renewing our internal policies and keep the discussion with the authorities in order to let them know what are the most important problems that we face. In a company, for example, like us, transportation that we operate in all over the country, we have different problems in the north, different problems in the south. Is not the same. We are operating in different Mexicos. So the challenge, according to security, is completely different in each region of the country. And in this case, the communication with authorities at all levels is very important to keep them sensitive and to ask them to have the strategy that will respond on what we need.
Well, Elena Robles, she's VP for ANADE, which is the Mexican Association for Corporate Lawyers. I really appreciate you joining us this morning, and promise me you'll come back soon.
Thank you, Ana Maria.
Thank you so much. We're going to go to another commercial break. I'm Ana Maria Salazar, and you're listening and watching Living in Mexico. I'll be right back.